Today, we're diving North Monastery Beach, located in Carmel, California. We'll enter the water and stay on the left-hand side of the kelp, where we drop into the sand and swim along the edge of the kelp. Eventually, the sand turns into deep rock, which will go down as deep as you want to go. When you're done exploring that area, you head back up into the kelp towards this wash rock. It's a bit turbulent in this area, but it's interesting. You can watch the kelp swaying back and forth. You park on the side of the road, get ready, and work your way down towards the beach. First, stop and take a look at the sign. It says, "Danger, steep beach. At least 30 people have died here." The reason is because of this steep beach. There's a danger zone where swimmers could fall in and not be able to get out. The sign indicates that if you see someone in distress, you should direct them to crawl towards the shore or head further out past the danger zone. As you're scuba diving, you want to keep an eye on the swell. Once the swell crashes and you don't see any large ones behind it, you enter, put a fin on as quick as you can, swim out past the danger zone, and then you can put your other fin on. You can see these divers as they walk out and suddenly drop a bit. So here we are swimming out along the kelp, preparing to drop down. Once we drop down into sand, we can see the sand on the left-hand side and the kelp on the right. We basically keep that orientation as we swim out. Eventually the sand turns into large rocks, and we drop a little bit deeper. And here we are. You can see that it's rather steep as it drops off to the left, and if we look up to the right, we can see the large kelp forests. We'll explore this area for a bit, and eventually head up into the kelp. Now we're heading up into the kelp. You can see the dense covering on the surface of the water. As we head up, you also see the turbulence increase as the moving water hits the rocks. You also see a lot more growth on the rocks here. We're just about at the rock I pointed out at the beginning of the video. If you look in the upper left-hand side of the screen, you can see the waves crashing over the rocks. It creates interesting photographs and it's pretty exciting. Don't go too shallow though, otherwise it can slam you against the rocks. We hung out for a little while here, watching the kelp sway back and forth, and watching the waves crash over the rock. Eventually, we worked our way back towards the deeper kelp. You can see the dense kelp on the surface here, and you'll notice that the surge calms down a bit. Here we are in the kelp. It's deeper now. And we were blessed with this incredible sight, all these blue rockfish. We spent the majority of the remainder of our dive in this area, just because it was so beautiful. This dive reminds me a lot of Laguna Beach in Southern California. Although Laguna Beach doesn't have the big drop-off that this area has, it has a lot of similarities with respect to life and kelp. After we were done hanging out, we made our way back towards the edge of the kelp. And continued back with the kelp on the left-hand side and the sand on the right. Eventually we surfaced and made our way out. You can see the diver in the yellow fins as he uses this technique to exit the water. He waits as a swell comes in near the edge of the drop-off, and that swell will lift him up and push him onto the sand. It was such a beautiful dive here in Monterey County. I was so excited and fortunate to do it, and I look forward to coming back as soon as I can to dive some of the other beautiful sights.